Warning. This show contains topics related to real-life events where we are always 100, and it's not for the weak-hearted or simple-minded audience. Content may be too real at times, and opinions will be voiced and untamed. You are strongly advised to stay out your feelings and keep that bitch-ass shit to a minimum. Enjoy the show.
I suppose you could say naughty.
Alright, this is Reka J from the A where my homies don't play, and this is my co-host Tip Top, and this is the Always1Hunnid show. Yeah. We'll get started with the Always1Hunnid show. Hey,
yes.
I'm Reka J from the A where my homies don't play.
Tip Top.
And this is my homegirl Tip Top. And we are here today for our first podcast, the Always1Hunnid show. Ding. We are coming to you.
Hold up. What you just did?
Wait, my bad. Wait, I'm sorry. Okay. So, the Always1Hunnid show is where we are today, and we are here with our first episode, and we wanted to come to you to bring you some fun, some comedy, some real life stuff, some things that, you know, we don't normally talk about in everyday existence or in our community, and just kind of heal and provide some hope and maybe help somebody that may be living close to the edge. Just stay
focused.
Stay focused, yeah. Absolutely, that was a good word. So yeah, we're here today to talk about mental health. That's going to be our first topic. Mental health, physical health, and wellness. A lot is going on in our country right now with just violence and just war and just, it's like a dark cloud is going on over our everyday living and our existence. People are dying by the hands of others and also by the hands of themselves. And mental health is not really talked about, and so we want to bring to the table today mental health, physical health. I am a person in long-term recovery, and what that means for me is that I have dual diagnosis. I was diagnosed with bipolar disorder and substance abuse. It may have been as early as 2008, 2007, 2008 maybe, in the late 2000s. And I have been in recovery since 2016. And even just being able to take awareness of that and be honest with myself to say, Reka, you have a problem, you need to get some help, and this is what it is. And so now I am a certified addiction recovery empowerment specialist, and I work every day in mental health and substance abuse, and I'm just trying to pay it forward and provide some people some hope in life. Some people that people have told that they'll never have the opportunity to have a job or fall in love or live life. And so, you know, just in the last year since I've been in this field, I've received so many compliments and well wishes just from my clients who say, Miss Reka, you bring the inspiration, you changed my life. So, Tiffany?
Well, I haven't been technically diagnosed, but I do suffer with mental illness. I don't think is real prominent right now. Well, I don't accept it. So I'm learning to accept it after my mother died. So it's coming around one day at a time.
Just tell you about how I met Tiffany. It was 5 years ago. Actually, it was in 2014 because it was right after we had a murder at our school, and I met Tiffany through her cousin. I was an advocate for a Stop the Violence campaign that had occurred on the campus at one of the local high schools that I worked at in Fulton County. And so Tiffany came as an advocate as well. And when I met Tiffany, she was really quiet and reserved, and she sat in the back. I think you had your sheriff uniform on the first day she came. Things had gotten really bad at our school. Gangs were at each other, and I had organized a town hall meeting. It had gotten some community leaders involved, and so Tiffany came with her cousin. But it was something about Tiffany. She brought her children with her, and she came back to another mentoring after school meeting that I had. And so we began to talk, and we shared some of the same views as far as the community and what we could do for our children. And as a single mother, I think we both kind of empathize with the mothers that were losing their children, the mothers that had sons that were just kind of out of control. And so that's how I met Tiffany. And I've always had this vision to reach people on a grander scale than I've had in my life. I've always had purpose, bringing awareness to things, changing people's lives. And so when I got this idea to do this podcast, Tiffany came to mind. I just thought she was sharp. I thought she was really sharp. I thought she had style about herself. And so I'm the type of person that, you know, if I see a bad chick, hey, I want to know how you roll, shawty. Let me know your secret. So, you know, let's get on the team. Let's build something. So this is where we are 6 years later. You know, at the time I was going through not just what was going on at the school, but I had lost 2 uncles within a 2-month period. And so things had gotten rough, and I was on edge with those kids because in my mentoring program, you know, I was real close to those kids. And I had written a 8-page email before it even happened telling my principal, you know, you need to beef up some security. It's a lot going on around here. Somebody's going to get killed, and that's exactly what happened. So just even having Tiffany show up out of love and support was something that meant something to me. And so here we are, and we are doing this show. And so we're going to open up and talk about some mental health things. I can speak from experience. Like I said, I have a dual diagnosis, and when I got diagnosis, I was very angry at a time in my life, and I hated the label. I can't stand labels. You know, I have a history even in the medical field with my health, and so when I got that diagnosis, I rebuked it. I rebelled against it, and I did not want to accept it. I felt like, you know, I'm just mad. I've been through some shit in my life, and nobody wants to recognize my stuff. Nobody wants to acknowledge it. It's always, what's wrong with you? How could you do this? You know, all the things that made me spiral into a deeper depression and, you know, a deeper substance abuse disorder. And so I felt like the doctors didn't know me well enough to give me a bipolar disorder because, you know, sometimes I feel like I'm normal in life. And I just feel like when shit happens, you get upset about it. You cry. You break down.
Right.
But what was happening to me was that I was staying in those episodes for too long. And they were not healthy. I was having what is called psychosis. And I was wrecking cars. I was breaking down doors. And at the time, I wasn't ready for help. And so I rebelled. So, 9 years later was when I actually went and got some help for my depression, my bipolar disorder, and my substance abuse. September 1st, 2016, I was involved in a real bad car accident. And the car accident was caused behind my addiction to Xanax. We're going to talk about drug addiction and substance abuse in part 2. So this is a part 1 and part 2 show, but being depressed is something that now that I've made it to the other side and through, I sometimes look at it as maybe I was feeling sorry for myself. Maybe I felt like, I've gone through this, and so I'm gonna wallow in this shit and feel like that I can't move past it. And I don't know if that's the case, you know what I mean? Because people go through things, right? Even with death. And as harsh as it may sound, you know, I've had to accept in my life that death is a part of life.
Right.
It's a part of what we have to go through. And my mom and I were riding in a funeral procession. It was Pastor Troy's aunt. And, you know, that's my family. We're related to them. And my mom said, you know, one day everybody's going to have this ride. We went to processional, the funeral procession. And she said, everybody's going to have to take this ride one day. And it really hit me like, damn. Everybody's going to have to sit in these cars and ride to the funeral, the cemetery day, you know. And so I've learned or accepted that is a part of life, even after losing, you know, my very best friend. After I met Tiffany, I went on to experience losses. I lost 2 grandparents. Right after I met Tiffany, I lost my very best friend, my cousin that I call my sister. And I went through a year of depression because she had been diagnosed with cancer, and I saw her. I actually went through her first chemo session with her. So, you know, even talking about you losing your mom, that's a hard thing to deal with. I haven't been to that point or that level, but that's a hard thing to deal with. And so I tell Tiffany all the time that I'm admired by her strength, because it's been a month since she's lost her mother, and here she is, you know, filming. And to be honest, I don't even know if I'd be able to get up out the bed. But shit, Tiffany was in Vegas a couple of weeks ago, you know, whenever I called her, you know, she had her moments. And I told her that it's okay for you to have those moments. You don't owe the world nothing. And I always tell her, I always say, Tiffany, you know, you're a superwoman, but you don't have to be superwoman. And I tell all my sisters and my queens that, you know, we've been conditioned as black women to feel like we have to be strong. That's just the way that we've been trained. It spills over from slavery, because, you know, you imagine our ancestors, our grandmothers, our foremothers, you know, being in their yards and their husbands actually being taken away from them physically in front of their children, you know, but the women didn't get a chance to break down and cry or fuss or rebel or even talk back. You know, they had to go back to, you know, not just taking care of their kids, but they had to go take care of the master's kids. Right. Even to the point where they had to breastfeed their kids. So, you know, not even being able to heal from the woes and the illicits from slavery has, you know, taken an approach to the younger generations, and it has caused us to not have self-esteem. It has caused us to promote stripping. It has caused us to embrace being somebody's baby mama.
Right.
You know, and even just trying to stay afloat in today's society. As an older person, as my mom's now age, you know, back in the day now, it's like, okay, I got to look at things from a perspective of, we got a generation to raise. And a lot of our kids now, you know, we expect them to be able to handle things that we can't.
Right.
Because we get to go to the doctor and get prescribed Xanax, which, you know, is my drug of choice. And unfortunately, you know, it got the best of me. But that's how we cope. Or we go to the liquor store, or we go to the weed man, or, you know, we go have sex with, you know what I'm saying? Whatever we have to do to get our minds off the things that we're bogged down with. And sometimes it gets to a point where people can't come back from it. I work in mental health and I see it. Paranoid schizophrenia is real. You know, dual diagnosis of people having not just paranoid schizophrenia, but a dual personality disorder. You know, I have one guy that I work with, and I pray for my clients because it's really sad. I have one guy who thinks that Def Jam has given him their record company. Real talk. He got trap music and Def Jam, and he also, you know, works for the CIA, and he goes out and kills people. And he has a couple of mansions, but his teeth are black. He ain't got no teeth. You know, so when I'm looking at him, I'm thinking, where's his logic? What happened to this man?
Mm-hmm.
And then I have another man who talks to himself all day. He yells and he busses and, you know, he doesn't bathe, and he's an Army vet and he has PTSD, and, you know, he'll be sitting in my group or in my class and it ain't funny. It's really not, you know, but he'll just start beating himself like this. And so I've gotten him to a point where he feels comfortable enough to talk to me. And so he shared with me the other day that his mama used to have sex with him.
Wow.
And so it's kind of like, how do you expect somebody to be normal after that? You know what I'm saying? And so people look at the people that's walking on the side of the street talking to themselves, and, you know, we make fun of that. Or we mistreat them, or, you know, we turn our nose down at them, or we think that we're above them. And so mental illness does not discriminate.
No, it doesn't.
It does not discriminate. It doesn't have a zip code boundary. It doesn't have a racial discrimination or none of that, you know. But it's real. And so, Tiffany, with you losing your mom, I want to ask you, because I've given you praise and I've said to you, I admire your strength. I admire the way that you've got through this. How do you think that you've done it, or what can you, you know, give to somebody that may be going through what you're going through? Because understand that a month is not long enough.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? I'm just like, I so love this lady because, you know what I'm saying, she's up on her game and still pushing through. But how have you done this? How have you gotten through this?
Whew. Prayer. A lot of prayer. Talking about mental illness, I mean, I also have been drinking, just trying to tune it out like it's not real. It's there. I've been putting it off. I really have been putting it off like it's not there. So when everybody else is thinking I'm okay, I'm not okay. I'm just like trying to just phase it out, not trying to think about it, even though it's there. I know it's there. It's real, because I've picked up the phone several times trying to call her, and I'm like, I can't talk to her. I need to talk to her, but then my mind goes somewhere else, and I want to grieve, but it hasn't gotten there yet. I've had plenty of episodes where I've broken down to myself, but I don't think I've gotten to that point yet where it really came out. And I'm kind of like afraid of that if it comes out, because I think I may get into a dark zone if it comes out. So with me doing, staying busy every day, doing everything with my kids, the show, then just kind of like keeping me focused, keeping my mind from going there. So I'm very appreciative of this opportunity to do this, because it needs to be talked about, and I know a lot of people go through it with death and how to deal with it, but I don't think it hits you that hard when you lose a parent or a child or just somebody real close to you that you depended on. They may empathize with me, but they don't really know how it feels. Yeah.
I'm so glad that you shared that thing about fear. I say this, to my clients, that the reason that they had these issues, that the reason that they're in this day program year after year, the reason that they're in a group home year after year is out of fear. Mm-hmm. Fear of actually having to face something traumatic, something that has happened to you. And I always say that no matter where you go, you always take yourself with you. And so even with drinking alcohol, when that stupor wears off, or, when you come down, that stuff is still there.
Right.
And so then it becomes a never-ending cycle of, one is never enough and 1,000 is, too much, or, and so at some point you really have to face it and deal with it. It's not going to go away. There's no right time. There's no wrong way to say how to deal with things. And even with grief, there are 5 stages of grief, and anger is a part of it. Mm-hmm. Anger, is a part of grieving, and because cancer, for a long time, I didn't even, want to hear the word. And even going through my own cancer scare, even this past year, going through sepsis and pneumonia and having to go to the cancer center for my infusion treatments kind of took me back of when I lost my cousin, my best friend. And, it's an ugly disease. And you wonder why in the hell did it have to affect me or my family, And so that's a process you go through. Blame is another one, sadness, darkness. You can't avoid it.
No.
You cannot avoid, the process of grief. It's just something that you have to go through. And the guy who, that I said, shared with me that his mom used to have sex with him, told me that his mom has been dead 20 years. And so I tried to understand or even explain to him that, here you are holding on to this that has hurt you. And your mom has been dead 20 years. And so a part of, moving past our mental issues or moving past these diagnoses is acceptance.
Right.
And I think I've heard Oprah say that you don't have to accept what actually happened to you, but you have to accept that it happened to you. And I'm not trying to, quote Oprah to give her no kudos or none of that.
That's what's going on right now.
So, because there's been a whole lot with that going on as well. And the sad part about mental illness in our community or substance abuse is that it's okay when it's a celebrity, or it's okay when it's glorified by the media, but it's not okay in our community when you know somebody personally, because it becomes entertainment for us. Because maybe it's because if we're talking about Reka who's addicted to this, or I heard she was addicted to that, if I'm looking at her and laughing at her stuff, then maybe the focus won't have to be on me and my shit, because I'm over here doing this behind the scenes, and I'm a functioning addict, keeping it together, you know what I'm saying, because my husband's sleeping with my best friend or whatever reason.
Right.
The sad part about it is that we don't uplift each other when we're going through dark times, and so being here to be able to talk about it is something that is necessary.
Right.
Something that people don't really talk about because they're afraid that they're gonna get labeled or they're gonna get stigmatized. And so Tiffany and I both have health issues. I got diagnosed with lupus in 2005, and I've had 13 surgeries since then. And even going through that, I'm getting ready to have surgery number 14 from my car accident that happened almost 4 years ago. And even going through that, mentally preparing myself and saying, ooh, first of all, I got to be put to sleep. That's a thing in itself, so prayer definitely comes into play when you go into those things. But even just trying to wrap my mind about having to go through surgery, is something that I have to work with. I have to use my coping skills. I have to meditate. I have to not necessarily act like it does not exist, but go out with my friends, keep myself busy, And so if you have been keeping yourself busy as a way of coping, then so be it. But don't fight whatever shows up, and don't be afraid of it when it does show up, because at some point, like I say, you're going to have to deal with it. And even with depression, it's a lot of people that's dealing with a lot of stuff that they don't want to talk about. They hide behind their jobs. They hide behind their titles.
Money. They
hide behind their money. And so, I'm from Atlanta. Atlanta is a very pretentious city, if I may say. I don't care who get mad at me, but it's a whole bunch of fake ass niggas around here. It just is what it is. Even with watching the shows that center around Atlanta, the ignorance that's displayed on television is definitely a mental illness. When you see women fighting each other, it's a lack of self-esteem. It's a lack of having a centered core belief. When your core beliefs are screwed or dysfunctional, then you just destined for, failure. But there is possibility.
Right.
There's possibility when dealing with mental illness. How you are medical compliant, you talk to people, you talk about the issues that are bothering you. You know, I've kept a journal for most of my life, and now that social media is at people's fingers and is an opportunity for you to be able to reach the masses by talking, I'm glad that we've had this opportunity to sit here tonight. You know, I've done most of the talking, and we're going to continue and have an episode 2 where we're going to delve more into, you know, how mental illnesses can and substance abuse kind of feed off of each other, because Tiffany talked about her drinking. And so I've had an issue with opioids before. So, yeah. Tiffany, you want to add something that you want to talk about with your health issues?
Well, back in 2015, I was still working for the sheriff's office at that time, and I was told I had a mass on my liver. I was told I had other issues going on, and so I went through a stage of about 6 months going back and forth to a doctor. Nobody could tell me where the pain, where anything was coming from. I just was getting poked and pried on, just didn't know nothing. So I ended up having to leave the sheriff's office after they didn't have light duty available for me, and I was out of work. I had to leave the job and out of work for a while. I mean, this job I had been on almost 10 years, so that was my career. So this means, I mean, I got 3 kids taking care of, a household, bills due. So imagine somebody telling you, no, we don't have nothing for you, and you're sick, and you really can't work anyway. So I was out of work for about a year and a half, and tried to go back somewhere else, and end up still getting sick again. And still to this day, it's been 5 years later, and I still don't know where the pain is coming from. I went through having surgery in my neck, growing legs, arms, you name it. I've had the study done, from gynecologist to general surgeons, and still don't know. But up until probably a month ago, I think when my mom was in hospice, while sitting in the hospice place for a week straight, you know, watching her transition into, well, she was dying, transition. I haven't been in any pain since then. So I don't know where the pain was coming from. I don't know, maybe this is the steps I need to take to get to somewhere else, or maybe that was her way of saying, I'm relieving you of my pain. I'm relieving myself of my pain and yours. And her sacrifice was her. I don't know. I just don't know. But I'm grateful not to be in pain. I had 2 days of consecutive 2 days of working out, and I used to be a workout freak. So I'm just grateful to be able to work out again, and I don't know, being pain free. And I guess it was at the mercy of my mom. But sometimes I'm like, I'd rather be in pain and have her here. It's still fresh, so I'm just coping. At this point, I'm just coping. So if I'm quiet right now, I'm just really coping with a lot of stuff.
And you know, stress kills. I know you've heard that saying before. For me, you know, my journey in this health thing started, like I said, I got diagnosed in 2005, but it started as early as 96 with my first surgery, and I kept getting sick, and doctors couldn't find out why. And you know, I had a hair salon at 21, and I had my son, you know. So I was very young, and I worked really hard until I just really started getting sick in the late 90s, and you know, I had to close my hair salon. I just couldn't do it. I couldn't perform. And so in 2005, I got hospitalized 21 times from July to October. But also in that year, you know, I had made this move to Gwinnett County, following my son's father, trying to give him a chance. He wanted to do right by his son, blah, blah, blah. So I got sick out there. And they couldn't find anything. And you know, now that I think back on it, you know, every time I'm stressed, I get sick.
Right.
I've been diagnosed with fibromyalgia as well. And it never fails every time, you know. I don't know what was going on with me this past September, but I got sepsis. And so with lupus, you know, and fibromyalgia, I have a very weak immune system. And so I just pick up things and get sick. But even, you know, after the 21 times of having to go back and forth to the hospital, they finally figured out that it was lupus by a sore on my eye. So the trials of that, it's tiring. You know, I'm glad that you've gotten back into exercising. And I know that you've been stressed, but you know, the last 5 years you've gone through major transitions, right. Even with, you know, your job and things like that. And so I'm just thankful that you're feeling better, you know, because I think it was back in maybe 2015 or 2016 you were really sick, and you didn't know what was going on. And so that in itself can be stressful.
Very.
You know what I'm saying? That'll have you smoking out your ears because you don't know what the hell going on, but you still got to get up. Because you got to go take your kids where they need to go. You know, you got to go out here and go to work. You got to perform. You got to put on that fake ass smile. Snap. Hey, I'm here. What else you need me to do, sir?
Yes, I missed.
You know what I'm saying? And so sometimes it can be overwhelming, and then if you don't deal with it, it'll show up and it'll explode. And then it's like, oh shit.
She crazy.
She crazy. Yeah. She crazy.
Mental illness.
Yeah, and so I've heard that most of my life, and so I've looked at it as, you know, people don't know what I've gone through in my life. And when people don't understand things that don't look like what they think it's supposed to look like, then they call it crazy. And yeah, you know, I take crazy now as a compliment. I'm crazy as hell, but I ain't stupid.
Exactly.
You know, I've survived a rollover crash. I got rods and plates in my legs, you know what I'm saying? Surviving sepsis, even having gone through lupus flares and all kind of stuff, just being sick, oh my God, just surviving. And so, you know, being in recovery now, it wasn't until after I had my accident that I decided that I don't want to live my life like this no more. I don't want to live my life focusing on my pain. I want to focus on what's right with me.
Right.
Not what's wrong with me. You know what I'm saying? Yeah, I've been sick. Yeah, I've had these downfalls. Yeah, but I'm still here. I'm still living. And so I choose to make the best of today by thanking God first. Putting forth an effort. You know, when you thank God and you invite God into your life and you're just so grateful for the things that God does into your life, things come pretty easy. So you kind of can deal with life when it comes to you.
Right.
You know, I am truly, truly, truly grateful and thankful for where He has brought me from, where He has taken me. And so, you know, we're going to save some more about the drug part, the drinking, the alcohol part. We're going to leave that for our next episode. And I thank you, audience, for allowing us to be vulnerable. We're going to include our email addresses at the end so that you can send in questions. If you want to be a guest on the show, if you want us to talk about certain topics, please feel free to send them to us. Also, if you want to be a vendor, if you want us to advertise for you, send us your information and we'll get back with you, and we're going to keep it moving. But one thing we're going to always do, most importantly, is always keep it 100. We're going to always be 100. We're going to always tell you the truth. We're going to always come from our heart. We're not going to put no sugar on top of it or no shit. We're going to give it to you raw and uncut.
That's just the intro.
So, this is Reka J from the A where my homies don't play. This is my girl, Tip Top. Tip Top. We'll see you on the next episode. Peace.